You'll see this one Friday here back in the video, and so we'll be hopping into another Madden 26 offensive breakdown. So here we're going over the gun-tight open offensive formation in Madden 26, which is definitely becoming one of the more popular formations in the game. This formation is very, very solid, and yeah, I'm going to show you guys my favorite plays, my favorite setups. If you guys are new to the channel, please hit that like, subscribe to the channel down below. Make sure you guys do check out my New York Jets offensive ebook. That will be links down below in the description and in the comment section pinned. Make sure you guys do check out that ebook that has the written version of these setups as well as the entirety of the Jets offense, which is one of the more popular playbooks in the game right now. So once again, we are in the Jets playbook, of course, and yeah, the audibles that I like that I'm going to be going over are the motion spot wide post, the speed option tight seams, and the spacing play. There are a few other decent setups in the plays in this formation, but again, just gonna keep things a little bit simple in this one. I did post a video for this formation in college football, but I have not done the Madden one yet, which is why I'm bringing that to you today. So with those audibles in mind, we are going to start out with the motion spot wide post. Let's go ahead and jump straight into that. Defensively, I'm going to switch between kind of a few different coverages, cover 3, cover 2, man coverage looks. Again, if you guys do purchase the ebook, you are going to get all these setups that I talk about in this video with images, with play breakdowns, with Xbox and PlayStation versions, and the coverages that each setup is going to be a little bit more specifically. So regardless, though, let's jump straight into it out of this motion spot wide post. Now, what do we like out of this play? Nice little post with Mason Taylor is really good. Lazard is on a pretty sharp corner route. I like the stock flat with Garrett Wilson, and there's overall just a few base routes to work with. The first setup that I like to run is going to be, I like to go ahead and return X, which is going to be down on the D-pad, or square if you're on PlayStation. So we're going to go ahead and return X. We're going to streak Y. We're going to flat B, which is right trigger, like this, and then we're going to streak RB. So setup is going to look like this. This creates a nice little high-low read between a few different routes. We have the return and the streak, and immediately you're never really going to be able to defend both of these routes, which makes it very difficult. So if we just snap the ball, immediately we can kind of look at Breece Hall as our first read. He's kind of the guy that we do want to hit just initially. So if you can, of course, dump it down to him, that is ideal. So again, streak Y, return X, streak RB, flat B. So let's say RB is user covered, then you can actually hit Garrett Wilson on this return route. There's a lot of space. We didn't get the greatest rack animation there, but there's a lot of space to hit him over there. Now, obviously, you can definitely hit Mason Taylor, but you will need a little bit more time to pass. But you can kind of roll out. It was a little bit of a tough roll out there in most cases. He should get open on the sidelines, or if they happen to play this a little bit more aggressively, let's say, let's pretend that like maybe he has the hook curl on the left, and then maybe he plays the streak very aggressively, or whatever the case may be. Then, you could hit him in this little quick window. Just depends on the user, so be very aware of that. You're not going to be facing stock coverage most of the time. Now, as far as cover 2 goes with this setup, going to be kind of a little bit of the same things. We still have our kind of quick dump down to Breece Hall. Obviously, again, just be aware of who he's using, because that will affect your reads and your progressions within the play, of course. But this play should work well. Garrett Wilson should do a pretty solid job of getting open against a cover 2 defense. As far as man coverage goes, you're looking at probably not the greatest setup against man. I will say that it does beat man just because of Mason Taylor's route. Lazard can get open against a press man look on that regular streak, and then Garrett Wilson can as well. But here's cover 2 again, and of course you see Mason Taylor actually is kind of open there in a window just underneath the mid read. Garrett Wilson is open as well, so very solid. Let's throw it against man once. And yeah, I mean, obviously against man, we're looking Lazard quick if it's press man. Otherwise, we got Taylor, we got Garrett Wilson that are hopefully going to do well. And you see Mason Taylor does get some good separation there, so you would want to hit him. Now our next setup is going to be slot fade X, streak Y. We are going to flat B and streak RB. So pretty much the exact same setup. We just have Garrett Wilson on a slot fade. So this setup is more so focused on either the post to streak combo, but also Mason Taylor does get more open on this play late if we do get the opportunity. So we are facing the Giants pass rush, which is really good. Hopefully I can get enough time to throw this over the top, which we do there. And that is kind of ideally what you like. And the situation here really puts the user defender in a predicament because in 90% of the case, they're not going to be able to user both the streak and this player. So like obviously, if I'm pressured, I'm going to dump it down to Breece Hall quickly. Let's say this user goes and maybe takes him away. And this guy is like obviously sitting here, then you know the tight end is going to be open. So it's just a very good read. And this is more so focused on hitting Mason Taylor late, whereas the other one was probably focused on hitting him a little bit more early in the play. So that's kind of your progression against cover 3. Against cover 2, you definitely do have these routes in play against cover 2 more so than they were previously. You can kind of stretch Garrett Wilson on the sideline in a way right over there. We don't get a great pass animation, but the separation is more than there. And then also you could maybe hit Lazard. He's not the greatest player for this just because of his speed rating, but in normal circumstances against cover 2, Lazard does have a chance to kind of split the middle there and get open. But other than that, kind of your same read, streak, post, man coverage. Again, this play probably not great, but Garrett Wilson does have the chance to take this over the top. He does have the chance to do that. So here's man coverage, and you see we get, I think, a pretty good animation here. Maybe not the best throw, actually pretty good throw, and he is open there. So overall, good setup there. Let's move into our next one. Whoa, he's angry, firing the ball. Next setup, going to be kind of a quick snap setup. We're just going to drag X, slot fade B. It's going to look like this. Now this setup, again, kind of a quick snap, looking for either drag post, I would say more so. If it's man coverage, we get Y or B as options, but really just kind of good, solid, quick snap setup. Catch them off guard. We don't really have too many of these types of setups out of this tight, gun tight open formation, which is why this kind of setup actually works, although in normal cases, maybe it's probably not the best setup on paper. But like in this case, we get the drag, goes over the top. We can potentially hit that guy. Like if he's using 58, he dives down on that, then you can definitely hit him. As far as hitting Mason Taylor late on this play, probably not the greatest of opportunities to do that, just because we do have the corner route over there. But yeah, really just would depend on the user. Of course, here, like boom, we could hit him in this window. The drag is wide open as well against this cover 2 defense. So this is a situation where it works out a little bit better than it did against cover 3. But again, just play it by ear. Always make sure you're aware of who he's using. Switch stick potential for these different routes. Man coverage is where this setup is going to be pretty solid, more so than the other ones. So if we go to a man coverage look here, we have just a lot of options. Now Lazard, his route is a little bit hit or miss, I would say, just because it's such a flat corner route that sometimes they will kind of get beat. But then if you bullet pass it, it's going to be an interception because they're undercutting the route, so be careful with that. But Reynolds over there should get open. Mason Taylor, the drag, should get open. So like here, you simply can't throw it to Y because he, like I said, he's in that kind of undercut state. So I did get hit as I threw, but the slot fade did get good separation there. Same with the post and the drag. They all work well together. And yeah, let's hop into our next play, which is going to be tight seams. Now, tight seams is going to have a few good stock routes that you just cannot hot route, which makes this very, very solid in my opinion. So jumping into it, again, these sock fades with Mason Taylor and Allen Lazard are something that you just cannot replicate with hot routes. So that's why they're very good. The first setup that we're going to run is just B on a corner and Y on a drag. So we used Garrett Wilson's kind of stock in route, which is honestly a little bit of a delayed in route, interesting enough. And then we have this nice little route with Reynolds over here that does get open, I think, a good amount of time. Like you can hit it over here, it is perfect. It plays really well combined with the drag, which is why we do kind of combine it there. So let's run that again. This is cover 3. So, okay, we can also just either hit Lazard early, we can wait on that and still throw it to him. It gives you kind of good options. And as far as cover 2 goes, it's going to be kind of a similar look. Reynolds may even be a little bit more open here. Now, Garrett Wilson's route is very slow, but you see he still does technically kind of undercut those zones, which is very good. And then, of course, if that's user, he's probably diving heavy to the right-hand side with the drag and the seam route, and that route's kind of flying under the radar, I think, a little bit. It should do well against man as well. So if we go to a man coverage look, it's so delayed, but also against man, Mason Taylor can technically get open on this, as well as if the play was flipped, he definitely has an option to get open. So Garrett Wilson's the guy. It's not the best against man, but you have options. Now our next setup is going to be kind of a quick snap setup with this, and I would really only run this play against zone coverage. But you're just going to return B, and then you have these kind of 2 quick seam streaks, which you can potentially hit right there. Again, depends on the user, depends on zone drop depth with those zones, if there even is a zone. So again, be aware of how your opponent's playing coverage, because these routes are a little bit risky there if there is a normal kind of hook curl zone. So that was kind of cover 3, and then cover 2, I mean, obviously we have these routes that are open. I was kind of forcing the seam streak, but we do have these routes that are definitely open. So again, with Garrett Wilson, he's still playing it underneath, and you can definitely just hit him over there, which is very solid. And then again, I wouldn't run this against man, so no need to show it against that. The next setup for this play is going to be slot fade X, slot fade B. We're going to drag A, put Wyland in route, and smart route him. It's going to look like this. So this is a little bit of a similar setup to kind of what we ran out of one of the earlier plays, but yeah, I mean, just very focused on the drag combos. Again, depending on the coverage or the man coverage look, I do prefer this probably against man, just for that opportunity with those slot fades to go over the top. But good to kind of mix up the players on the different routes, as Lazard had been on a lot of streaks and a lot of corner routes and even drag routes. This is kind of the first time he's on something different, going from the opposite side, and that's where you can kind of catch him off guard. Same thing with Mason Taylor. He was on a lot of corners and streaks and posts, and now he's on a drag, and you can catch people off guard with that. So yeah, I mean, regular Tampa 2 here. You got the drag, and we can also hit Lazard there, assuming 22 got a little bit stuck there, but he should have kind of followed the drag down. Otherwise, he would have just checked it down. And then man coverage is where this play is going to be probably even better, where we can throw all these man beaters on the field and hope that your slot fades get open, which obviously they should. So kind of bomb them over the top. That's not a great throw, but even then, enough separation to really come down with it, which is definitely something that we are big fans of here. So good setup there. And our last setup for this play is going to be, I guess, no, that was the last setup. Okay, we're good. So let's go into our next play, which is going to be spacing. Now, with spacing here, it's a very good stock kind of base play. It's going to be on the right-hand side there. And with this particular play, there's a few different things we can do with it. We do kind of want to keep it simple, but at the same time, I think there's good opportunity with just kind of the stock routes. So I like to drag Y, return X, streak A, and slot fade B. Really good spacing play with the drag, the return, and the flat. Makes it very difficult to defend all 3 of those when you're worried about going over the top with some of those other setups we ran. So immediately, you can just check it down to Breece Hall in the flat here. You're running back. You can pick up 5 yards. Even if you get like 3 or 4 yards, you will still take it. So that is an option. The slot fade will pull up those zones very much so. Let's say he is taken away, which is possible. You can easily just hit Allen Lazard here, and you see we pick up almost 15 yards really before contact there, which is obviously ideal. Let's say he gets taken away, and this is all against cover 3, by the way. Let's say Lazard is taken away, then we can dump it down to Garrett Wilson here. In this case, Okereke plays it a little bit more conservative, kind of saves home on that, maybe doesn't follow the drag. If that's a user and they dive on the drag a little bit more aggressively, then maybe that route has more space to actually rat catch it instead of maybe having a possession catch it. Now, against cover 2, it's going to be kind of the same story where B is more of an option here. Mason Taylor up the seam is in play. So let's run that. And you can see on the sideline, we can definitely hit this slot fade, which is really the route that we would like to hit. It's going to generate the most yards possible, but it's not really going to work too well against anything cover 3 unless it is pressed. Then sometimes it can beat those zones that are pressed, depending on the speed difference and all of that. But here's cover 2 again, and we will just kind of run the same play. Let's say we don't want to throw it to him, we can just check it down. I was under pressure, but X would come across open, table route's open as well, and then we'll just throw the drag. So overall, a lot of good options in my opinion. As far as man coverage goes with this setup, going to be kind of some of the same old. The slot fade, hopefully get separation. Table route's not going to do much against man. Drag, return, hopefully can get something for you there, which... that wasn't a great look there, but we've seen those routes get open, so I guess you just got to trust me. Next setup, it's going to be in A. We're going to smart out that, or X on PlayStation, streak Y, drag X, or square on PlayStation, slot fade B. And it's going to look like this, a little bit similar to one of those earlier setups, but it is kind of flipped a little bit. We have the drag with Garrett Wilson now instead of Mason Taylor, and we have Lazard on the streak, whereas previously it was Garrett Wilson on the slot fade. So some of those routes are flipped, which is, again, kind of annoying for the defense because he can't really stay consistent with his adjustments and can't stay consistent with those people that he's manning up. And the reason for that is we are switching who is on these routes. So again, slot fade B in A, smart out him or custom stem him up, drag X, and streak Y. So there we hit Garrett Wilson. Here, again, I have Lazard in the seam, which I can kind of throw, and I threw that very late, and we still caught it. Throw that a second earlier, and it's even a little bit more effective. So don't forget about that route, because if he crashes down, maybe the zone drops are a little bit low, you can definitely hit that. Let's go to a cover 2. Cover 2 is going to be, again, obviously drag here, but you can hit this in route. I know I crossed the line of scrimmage, but if I just stood in the pocket there, I could have hit that in route as well. And then man coverage for this play, going to be kind of self-explanatory, a little, hopefully your streak gets open, slot fade. Again, those are kind of hit or miss, but hopefully those get open more than they don't. You have your drag, you have your in route. So overall, should be pretty solid with those. And in this case, I would have probably taken X. But again, we don't have the greatest receiving core on planet Earth with New York Football Jets, as I'm sure some of you know. Now, the last setup that we're going to run with this particular play is going to be streak A, corner B. We're actually going to custom stem this down a few. I usually do either 2 or 3. Right about that range, I would say looks good. And we're going to slant Y and return X. So a little bit different than the drag. The slant should be a bit more effective against man, but also gets into a different spot of the zone. So let's run this against cover 3. Immediately, you see we get this nice little window, which we do get hit as we throw. But the slant definitely open there. The table route is open as well. Let's run this again. Again, streak A, corner B, custom stem him down. I usually do like around this range, maybe a little bit higher. Right here, probably good. And then we snap the ball. Of course, we get Garrett open. We saw the slant was open. Now the corner route should kind of work the same as it did out of our first. Remember, we ran that corner out setup out of tight seams, I want to say. I think so. But this one's a little bit shorter, which it being shorter helps the table route get open as an option. So let's try to hit this corner route. It looked pretty covered. Maybe against cover 2 it's more open, but it definitely opens up both the slant and the table route as options. So we are fans of that. Here's cover 2. Go ahead and snap this football. Table route immediately open. Slant immediately open. Again, the corner route, I guess here, kind of more for show than it is to really get open. So we do just kind of want to allow it to pull up those zones naturally. If he does play hard flats or very far underneath, then of course we can attack that over the top. Man coverage, again, the corner route is going to be kind of difficult against man. It can get open maybe with a high ball and a good freeform pass lead, but a little bit difficult. Slant, return, hopefully get open. Mason Taylor on the streak. He definitely can get open. Here, we're just going to go to Garrett Wilson because our slant gets bagged, but it's Alan Lazard. So take it with a grain of salt, of course. But That's going to wrap up this play. The last play we have is the speed option, which is definitely kind of a good play for the red zone, in my opinion. Be careful with this play, of course. You can definitely fumble on it. Very susceptible to fumbles if you do pitch it late. So I would practice it, but it's very good for kind of 3rd and 1 situations. Sometimes the blocking doesn't hold up like it does there, but hopefully you're putting yourself in positions to kind of run this in the red zone. Sometimes he'll play the quarterback, and you can even still run it up the middle and kind of get your yards. But you see I kind of tossed it late and fumbled, so don't do that. Again here, able to kind of play it. We can pick up about 10 yards. You'll take that. Obviously, I would be on conservative ball carrier when I do this so that I avoid fumbling. But here he chases. We can dump it off. And could be, again, very good yardage. Good short yardage and red zone play. So if you guys are new to the channel, once again, hit this like. Let me know what you guys want to see down below in the comment section. And peace. I'm out of here.